Luke here with the Outdoor Boys. Sorry, too soon? Welcome back to whatever hell this channel is. You guys have been spamming me to react to this trailer. It is Genshin Impact character trailer Escoffier, a gastronomic symphony. Genshin Impact, new character that just came out, I guess. And you guys really want me to react to it. So let's do a reaction first and then let's break it down. Okay, let's just get right into it.
Have to work in harm.
The sounds are nice. Ooh, the sounds are nice.
Here's a better
Oh, these angles are cool. Very smart angles.
For musical notes.
Nice. I love that resolution change.
Sour, refreshing aftertaste. But then,
Lots of really great quick shots. Oh, that was a good transition. The music sounds really good. God, look at these colors. Oh, this is so fun. All right, oven's ready. Woo! Yeah, these graphics are great. She's struggling with it, eh? It's very cool how they're envisioning her mind and how her mind works as she's trying to like process these creations. That's great. And then as she starts to figure it out, like all the music comes together. This is so great. Okay, we see some combat. Boom! Oh my god, is that an impact frame? We'll slow that down. There's our girl Farina. Sweet. I like the idea of combining music and food together because they're both like creative processes and you have to get into like a creative flow when you're doing them. So that was pretty good. I'm glad they didn't go down the full Food Wars route. If you know what I mean, that could have been a disaster. But let's break this down. So the video opens with some really cool shots. These are some like really beautiful, intimate shots. And one of the cool things about food is that like when you taste food, when you smell it, stuff that like you've made in your childhood or like your parents made for you, they feel nostalgic. And that's these shots feel nostalgic to me. I don't know what it is. It's like how when I think about my parents cooking or like cooking for friends like back in the day, these are kind of how the memories feel. They kind of feel like they're in this like filmy sort of shot. I love the perspective of these shots and I love how close up they are. Like these are shots you don't see, right? You're normally just looking down on the food, so it's really cool to get in there, right? And you get to see how this character is like kind of operating on a mental level. She, like the way she's thinking about food, she's in it. She's experiencing it. At least, I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching that a little too far, but I think that's really cool. I think these are 2D. Are these 2D or 3D animations, by the way? I can't tell. The liquid simulations look 3D. Yeah, maybe these are 3D. I think they are. There's just some really nice filters on them. I love this shot of the bread rising in the oven. It's just so cool. I love how retro this feels. If anyone knows the type of camera that they are mimicking in these shots, like what kind of like film camera, like a Super 8 or something, let me know because I find the film stuff really fascinating. One of the coolest things that she explains is that she says that when you're creating food, all the ingredients need to harmonize together like a symphony. So the way she looks at it is that she's like this sort of like maestro, right? And she is bringing all of these notes together to compose something beautiful, not for the ears, but for the mouth. And then we get a really cool shot here after this delicious bread pudding thing, right? Of a 3D Genshin Impact character, Escoffier. And then the aspect ratio pulls back and this like filter effect they have starts to fade. Look at that, guys. Look at that. And the camera pulls back. We got we're in full like widescreen cinematic Marvel moment right here. And the character animation starts. And the cool thing is we've already got some 2D effects in the background here, right? Like check this out back there. We've got some stars that start flying around and exploding. It's almost like these ideas that are like going off in her head. And we get this really nice spinning animation where she's sort of like maybe like going through not her memories, but like she's like, you know, kind of like composing this thing, these food ideas that she's got going on in her brain. She's sort of like moving through them. It almost looked like she's in like a broth right now, like not a brothel, a broth. And I really like that. Very smooth flying animation. We get a couple of cute little spins here, and her eyes are closed and she's deep in thought. And we get this shot of like behind the character, and there's a lot of like storytelling happening here. You see her tail, which seems to move on almost like it's like a personality of its own, right? One small thing I want to note is the hand animation here is really cute. If you look at it in slow motion, there's lots of good secondary movement on the hand. So instead of the hand just going like, instead of her thinking and just going bing, 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 it's kind of going bing, bing, bing. There's like the wrist is also moving with the elbow. You see it? How it's kind of like wiggling in there? And then the tip of the finger wiggles as well. That's what makes that feel like super stylized and like almost like a little more real and grounded. Check it out again. Watch that. 1, 2, 3. That makes it feel not stiff, right? You're not animating like mannequins and stuff. You're animating like people, right? Anyway, let's move on here. So we get this fun shot of her like moving around the scene, doing like little test things. Oh, wait, is she wearing anything under that apron? I guess not, but that's okay. Anyway, trying all these things out, and it's a very singular focus. Like we've got this like a spotlight coming down on the character. It's like everything is happening in this one scene. It almost feels like you're watching a play. And as she moves around, she starts like processing, okay, how does this food taste? What does it taste like? And then she takes a bite, and then these like imaginary flavors start exploding, and it transports her into another world. I really like this animation sequence because it's super floaty. She's almost being carried like on the currents of these flavors and these ideas. She's not really like in control. She's being like swirled around and taken on a journey by these flavors, which is what she's trying to do and what chefs try to do with their meals, right? And then she lands again. And I love the expression on the character's face. She's like so deep in thought this whole time. She doesn't really like... And then we get a little story element here, like a quick flash of this invitation that says, presenting new culinary creations. A tasting awaits at Hotel de Bourg in 2 days. We look forward to welcome you, Escoffier. So they have like a very high level tasting coming up in 2 days. So I guess she's on the clock. And there's a deadline looming where she really needs to get these things together. And I think with 2 days left, normally you've got a menu, like in a tasting menu, like really locked in. You do. But 2 days tells me that she's either left this to the last minute, which is hilarious, or she's just had some sort of creative block. And for creative people, this is totally normal. Sometimes your brain just isn't ready to give you what you want, and that's okay. Sometimes you gotta just like sit in it and wait for the right moment to arrive. So I guess that's what she's doing. And then we get a shot of her swinging the door open and pulled back, and then suddenly everything's in really color. We get this really cool environment of these like clouds with all of these ingredients in them. These are really cool, and these are obviously foods and things you can pick up from Genshin Impact. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't seen this part of the story. This could be like an actual place. Maybe this is like the restaurant she works at or whatever. But this seems to me like this is more like her mind and the way she envisions her food. You know how Sherlock, from the new modern Sherlock, had like his mind palace. Maybe this is like a mind palace for her. Let's talk about her character animation for a second. This looks like a totally still shot, right? But when you go frame by frame, there is so much movement. Take a look at her little hands are wiggling. Her elbows moving here. The eyes even lift up to follow this little musical note. Her hair is moving. Even her clothes are moving. Even her shoulders are moving as she breathes. There's so much secondary movement here that makes these characters feel alive, because they could have just like put a little hair physics on her. They could have put a little movement like on the clothes and then kind of called it a day. But they didn't do that. Now look at that. Look how good that looks, instead of just doing the bare minimum. Anyway, so this musical note she's observing seems to hop over almost like out of her control and land boop, into this little jelly pepper thing. Don't kill me, because I don't remember what this thing's called. It splits open magically. Ooh. And her tail kind of takes a swipe at the leaves, taking the leaves off, and we get some cool like stretching on the tail to make it look like it's moving a little faster. I like that, just a fun little detail. And then the tail grabs it up and pulls it off screen. One cool thing to note about this tail animation is that they could have just pulled it off screen, right? But the way this works is that her body is over here off screen. So she sort of has to like twist her body to pull the tail. So you can see her tail gets taut, like tight, before the actual pull comes, which is really cool. So they tighten it, and then whoop, it gets pulled, and then they add some cool stretching to this fruit to make it feel like it's really getting yanked. Like, take a look at it. Whoop, so fast, right? That's super cool. Anyway, I love this next shot. It feels so Disney, very Frozen or like Aladdin when they're like flying through the clouds. And I love the character's expression on her face. She's not like emotionless at all. I think there's a lot of emotion going in there, but she's a pro and she's so deep in thought that her face is relaxed and she's just like she's just processing. She is a professional who is like in her zone, right? So this is a really cool behind the scenes look of how this character specifically operates. Because if you were to put another character like in this situation where they have 2 days, they got a deadline, maybe another character with like a more nervous personality is like freaking out, right? They're nervous, like their eyes are wide, they're kind of like shaking, they're jumping around, but she's still very calm. Right? She knows like this is her process. She's been doing this for a while. She's a seasoned veteran, no pun intended. Then we get a beautiful, beautiful shot of her walking through this 3D environment, which I love. I think this color palette is just absolutely fantastic. Like these, like, it's almost like a jade green, and then you see some of the green coming through the clouds, and then the pathway is beautifully lit. Beautifully lit, right? Everything else is kind of like in shadows, but the center where they want you to look is lit up. That's some good contrast right there. And so she continues to walk through her mind palace looking for the answer or right ideas, or maybe for something just to jump out at her. Maybe she obviously doesn't know what the answer is because she would have done it, but she's obviously going through this world and maybe just seeing what jumps out at her, what the music notes tell her is going to work. I'm going with that one. I like that one. So she looks off to the right and this fruit like separates. So she's almost like dissecting it in her mind and thinking about all these fruit. Look at her like looking at these fruits from like all these different angles. This is like the mind of like a true professional, right? A true professional, a true master, maybe even a genius, maybe even a genius chef. The way she's able to take a look at these foods and dissect them down and look at them in different angles visually and mentally tells me that she probably really knows what she's doing. That's really cool detail. Let's talk about some more animation here. We've got another shot of this character like really deep in thought. She got her arm crossed, her eyebrows are down, like her eyes are super focused, mouth is tight, right? One cool thing they do here to add some rotation to this animation is that they also spin the camera, which is really cool. I love when they spin characters one direction and they sort of like rotate a camera the other direction. That's a really cool way to do some cool movement and end up in some dynamic angles. Anyway, she pulls out this plate, her platter. I think that's in her character. I think she uses that when she fights, right? I've seen a couple of fights. And we get some nice secondary motion of her finishing the spin. So the spin is finished, her body's not moving, but the clothes and her hair keep moving after. I love that. I love when hair and clothes do that. That's very important. And then we get a couple of shots back to this old aspect ratio of all these really beautiful foods. And the final shot of these foods is like, they look like little cookie pastry things. I'm not sure what they are. And her finger comes in on the screen to adjust them and puts it in the perfect spot. So she's a professional. Everything's got to be perfect. Everything's got to be perfect for today. Tomorrow. By the way, small thing I noticed in anime eyes, they'll add a gleam wherever the light is. So the light's coming from up here. They'll normally add like a white gleam in the top left-hand corner of the eye. They've done a little heart instead. How cute is that? That's such a fun detail. And then we've got this shot, which is interesting, where this sort of like oven thing goes from blue to red. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but she's not happy about it and she bends her spoon in frustration. So I guess it means that it's not perfect. I actually haven't read the character story of her, so I don't know what the story is behind that serving dinner tray she's got there. But obviously she's looking for something perfect. She hasn't got it. That's made her mad. She's pissed. We get another really cool shot here in this environment, and I love all the details of the background. She's got these like almost laboratory style steampunky like things, vats filled with like these beautiful liquids. These are either sauces or juices or puree. Something is in there. We don't know what it is. That looks like nice strawberry jam in the background. And all these other fruits and vegetables, looks like okra, tomatoes, come flying at her. And we get a little squish on the tomato as it flies straight onto this plate. She catches them, and then we get a nice little jiggle on these vegetables. Look how delicious these vegetables look. Look how juicy that tomato looks when it jiggles like that. Let's talk about lighting for a second, okay? This is a very busy background. There's a lot of textures. There's like the ticket holder up there, lots of foods, everything going on in the background. There's a desk here. So what do artists do to separate the foreground and the background? Because you want to be able to focus on these things. Now, if you notice, there's a beautiful white light on the rim of these fruits and vegetables. Guess what that's called? It's called a rim light. So they've obviously got a light set up somewhere over here to shoot light off to the side so it just bounces and creates a nice little outline. Sorry, I'm touching my screen. You guys can't see that. Creates a nice, beautiful outline on these fruits just to help them pop out in the background. Because if that wasn't there, these would be hard to see, or they wouldn't pop out as much. It's just a super simple thing you can do to make things in the foreground pop out if the background is a little too busy. Anyway, she grabs the fruit with her tail, and then we get this so awesome. Then we get this awesome anime style swing. Great pose with these like glass ice dinner knives. Oh, she's a cryo element, so this is probably ice. Can I just say her character design is great? She's got a nice little chef hat, which is cute, but I love the details on the apron. I love all the little things they have going on there. She's got some heart motifs going on, and then since white, she's a very pale character, and a lot of white kind of like makes the character like a little washed out. They add a lot of pink, cute little pink details. I love that. A little bit of blue in her hair, blue in the hat. I like that. That's a fun way to balance out a character. She feels very balanced. Anyway, we get a really cool pose. Very calm pose. That's what I'm getting from this. And she leans forward. We get some weird head movement there. Anyway, she leans forward, goes into an action pose, launches the veggies with, once again, the rim light. Check the rim light. And we get some great anticipation before something happens, because you know something's about to go down here, right? And then she leans forward, disappears for one frame, comes back in the second frame, boom, ready to slice and dice. Slice and dice. She's nice and blurred just to help make her look a little faster. We got these lines which they've just added in there to make it look like she's super fast. They're just speed lines. And then the next frame gone again. And then the next frame back in a slightly different pose. And we have some slashes that start appearing so fast. Let's talk about slash VFX for a second, because I think that's something really cool that they're doing here. These arcing shapes are actually pretty straightforward to make. They're just disc-shaped 3D meshes, like flat 2D meshes, but they're shaped as like a kind of like a curving disc. And then what you do is you take a texture and you just scroll them across this disc, and it looks like they're moving in a curved line, but they're just moving straight across the mesh. You can do a lot of really cool things just by moving textures on different shaped meshes. So if you had like a big like woo curved mesh and you took a texture and you just scrolled it on its UVs, maybe we'll talk about that later, it would actually move across this long mesh like this, and it looks like the illusion of movement. The mesh itself isn't moving at all. It's the texture on the mesh. If you're interested in learning more about that, we have a new VFX course dropping on my main channel on Stylized Station. I think that's dropping in a few weeks. I'm not 100% on that, but keep an eye out for that. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in learning more of this stuff. Anyway, we get some slices, and then we get a green impact frame. Look at my face. It's green. I've never seen a lime green impact frame before. That's new. And then of course, a little lime flies across the screen. I love it. And then an orange impact frame. And we got all these fruits flashing and flying across the screen with some cool textures, and we transition into this really cool little like graphic sequence. I want to see, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that whole sequence again, because that looked really cool. She's pissed off. Huh? They fly at her. She grabs them on the plate. She throws the plate, dashes through, impact frames. That was kind of cool. Well, I wouldn't say those were impact frames. But they're frames. They're colored frames. I don't know how else to describe it. Anyway, we get this great textured background. Lots of like really cool geometric shapes. This fruit, just by the way it's moving, probably has like 10 rigged bones in it at the very minimum, which is kind of crazy they did that just for one fruit. If you watch some of the videos in the past, you know we talk about these dotting textures. Now there's one called Bende dotting where the dots are all the same size, but the ones where the dots change size, you can see the dots are, or the spacing between the dots is getting smaller, I think. Those are called halftone dots. So there you go. That's in a previous video. I'll link that in the description too. We're learning today, guys. By the way, I just want to say thank you for all the love on these reaction videos. I've just started posting on this channel again, and you guys have been so awesome. You guys have been so awesome with the comments. You guys love reactions. I like reacting, so I'm glad you like reaction. I just reacted to Zenless Zone Zero Hugo's demo like a couple of days ago. I posted it, and you guys were so nice in the comments. Great breakdown. I hope you do his EP as well. Great animation analysis. You guys are so nice, man. Like, keep the comments coming. Keep the comments coming. This has been really fun. I read everything. If you want a great gradient, it's not enough to go from like blue to like a different shade of blue, right? You can also start shifting the hue as well. So a blue that goes to a nice purple feels really good. Or like a purple that goes to like a more reddish pink also looks really great as well. That's a great way to add some contrast into your animations. Holy crap, I need to finish this coffee. So we've got Escoffier standing over all these ideas that she's got, and she just shakes her head. SMH, bro. SMH. Not good enough. These aren't working. Can we just note the music again one more time, please? Listen to this. Let's fucking go! I love these scenes here where she combines these musical notes with like the fruit. So it's just like the notes are like leading the way. And now instead of her flying out of control in this world, she's in control. She's guiding the note with her hand. Look at her. She's like, go, be free. Little note with little fruities. And all these fruits are now coming together and kind of like moving in union. I don't know if you noticed that, but they're kind of like bouncing together. They're not apart anymore. They're not like being dissected. They're kind of like moving together in choreography, in harmony, one would even say. And this is the part of creative process where everything starts to move a little faster. You start to get that like, you start to feel that thread of like, of creativity, and you know you're close to something. You know you're close to something. And we get this really great shot of, I guess, her past selves like kind of lamenting over all of these difficult decisions that she's trying to make. Like she's like laying there upset. She's like looking at this fruit at a different angle, kind of like despairing here, thinking here. Since these characters are all like icy blue, they've added some nice purple lighting to add some color variation. Excuse me, to add some color variation there. And then they explode into vegetables. And she's once again mentally dissecting everything. So I think that kind of like, to me, confirms we are like in the mind of a genius right now. And then as she's sitting there pondering, we get a little moment and her eyes open, the eyes of realization. Something has clicked. And then as that clicks, the scene gets brighter. Her expression changes for the pretty much the first time, where she's more of like realizing something instead of deep in thought. And then the camera pulls back. She's got a little smile on her face finally. And then suddenly, without her even controlling it, these musical notes have sort of like taken on a mind of its own. And now everything is coming together. And we get these grand sweeping shots of her back in the zone, making it happen. And one cool thing to note is that she's now using her ice ladle as like the conductor's wand. What do you call that thing? Is it a wand? I'm butchering this today, pun intended. And she's conducting this symphony of flavors. I love this. I love how they've brought these two like almost completely different things together and harmonized them. This is super cool. And then she takes a scoop of the magic sauce, closes her eyes, gets a whiff first, smells it first, gives it a sip. That's it. I love the expression on her face, realizing that she's close to figuring this out, or she has figured it out at this point. And we're back to the kitchen. We get back, it pulls us back to these shots where I've noticed there's a few rooms. There's her mind palace with the clouds and the fruit where she does some thinking. There's the bluish like Disney one, the whole new world, where it seems like she's putting the pieces together. That seems to be like her actual like process. And then this seems to be a little more grounded in reality. So this is like kind of like where she tries the finished results. And she's so focused that nothing else in this scene exists, right? It's literally just her and this table where she's going to be presenting this food. But we got work to do. So she keeps going, and then she spins around, flips the knife, maybe flips it with her tail. And now that she catches it beautifully and she's already in a swing, and then the scene transitions. Damn, this is good. And our girl is ready to party. I like this character a lot. She's really cool. You learn a lot by watching all this stuff in slow motion. And the camera pans up and we're suddenly in combat. So we're going to see some combat. Finally, we've got this purple orb that breaks into three elements: fire, I guess water, and electro, and shoot at her. We've all got different VFX for each one. They look like plunging animations almost. Let's talk about camera animation again, because it's doing something cool here. So as the orbs fly towards her, it feels like they're going fast. They haven't actually moved that much, and they actually stop here animation wise, and then the camera keeps moving. So the camera's moving, they stop, camera pulls past them so we can get a good shot of the character's reaction before these elements hit. Right? If we were to just fly forward with these elements, we wouldn't be able to take this moment to pause and see that she's smiling. Anyway, the three elements crash to the ground, and guess what pops out? Slimes. And when I saw this, I was thinking like, oh my God, are we gonna get like a Delicious in Dungeon kind of moment where she takes like the slimes and like puts them into her food? That would be really funny. But we get another transition where we get some vegetables floating up into the air, right? And at first I was thinking, what does this have to do with anything? This doesn't make any sense. But if you take a look at them, that is a fire fruit, that is a water fruit, and then I guess that is an electro, like the plum or something. I don't remember any of these fruits. I haven't played Genshin Impact for quite some time now. But to take on these slimes, Look at this. Look at this transition. Look, it's the same. To take on these slimes, she's mentally visualizing herself in the kitchen and how she slices and dices her fruits and veggies. So they dash at her and she's like, just another day at work. And we get this. Oh my God. We got a beautiful pose. Look at this. This is gorgeous. Let's talk about this for a second. God damn. God damn. Your eye actually starts down here. Down here. Your eye starts down here. We got a nice little flash that tells you should be looking here first. This takes up a lot of your screen, right? The arm actually travels up to the head. And then you can see she's looking. So then your brain subconsciously goes, well, what is she looking at, right? You look up here and you can see that these little veggie slimes are coming down. We've got some nice contrast here of this beautiful halo. And then your eye starts looking around and you see the tail. And then the tail's got this beautiful, almost like Fibonacci spiral that takes you back here. It's beautiful. It's cyclical. I love low angle shots. You guys know that. So I always go crazy when this happens. Another cool thing you can do with your art, I haven't seen anyone talk about this, but like this sheen that they do, they actually just scroll like a white texture over the actual mesh. Nothing's like glowing or reflecting in this shot. They make it seem like it's really sharp and whatever, but all this is a little texture with 2 lines on it that they use an add function to overlay this on top of the actual texture, and then they just add a little gleam thing here. That's just also a 2D texture, and that makes it look like something's really sharp. They do that in a couple of games. And we go back to a conductor scene where she's conducting but also like fighting at the same time, and then we get some real actual combat, which is cool. I actually wasn't expecting to look at this today. It looks like she uses her tail to slice and dice things with her pole arm. So she probably gets some good reach on that. I really like that. I gotta say that transition into a character trailer to real gameplay is great. And when she shoots out this like frozen cone, is that an ice cream? Oh, it's like a lemon ice cream cone. I don't know what that is, but I like that. I love the hand pose she's got. It's not just a straight out. It's like it's got like a nice little twist on it. That's kind of nice. And it shoots out. And one thing that they're doing here to make it feel like it's moving really fast, they're adding these like speed lines on the top. You just take a transparent texture on and pop it. Let me do it here and pop it on top of your camera, right? So no matter where the camera goes, this speed line is just following the camera. It flies at the slime, blasts it, and freezes it. And I love all the little the little fruits and veggies that pop off of it. The slime in the back's like, no, Michael! It jumps into the air. We get some anticipation. Instead of just flying straight at him, it pauses, right, for an attack. And then we get like this really cool animation where he flies at them. And I love the textures on here. These are really simple to draw as well. Another great way to add some speed to your animation. And we get this awesome anime slicing animation. I didn't see this before. I only saw the impact frame because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 frames. That's it. It's 4 frames. Look how beautiful this shot is. Look how the light on this like purple plummy thing here, look how it moves as this like sweeping texture goes through this plum or through this fruit, whatever the hell this thing's called. And then we get an impact frame. I love this one. And it gets sliced in half. Oh, it's so good. And we get like another great impact frame and boom. And then look at this badass face she's making right now. I love this, like the one eye exposed. You've got like her tail, which is like kind of come around, is like covering her a little bit. Got the shoulder like over the eye a little bit. And then you get this gleaming texture on the eye. I love that. Let's take a look at that one again. She shoots the cone, jumps into the air, slice, boom. Silent clap for that one. Silent clap. I woke my girlfriend up when I just yelled earlier, so I have to whisper. And then they show us her ultimate, and I want to point out something in this ultimate. As she swirls around, she's kind of like creating a trail with her ladle, and then in her trailing hand, there's actually a blade, and the blade starts to cut, starts to slice nice and early, and then we get a nice slash right there. That's cool. That just looks amazing. We get some more of these like slashes that I talked about, and these are just done using these circle meshes where they just move them. And then we get her like final pose for her alt animation, and something really cool to note is that once again, we have a Fibonacci spiral. I don't know if you can see very well, but it spirals around. And here we actually have the mathematical equations of a Fibonacci spiral. See all these straight lines here? That's how you calculate one. What I really like about this character is that she's very creative and she sees food like music, which is a very creative, free-flowing thing. But she also sees food mathematically. So she's got that really rare mix of creativity and an analytical mind. And I think being able to combine those two things at the same time to create things is really what constitutes people as geniuses. And it's just a beautiful shot. Any shot that you do with a Fibonacci spiral is just gorgeous. That's just what it does. It's just designed to feel aesthetically pleasing in your brain, right? That is so cool. I love that. I didn't notice that earlier. And then we get a flash to the day. of, I guess, the tasting. And Farina is like super excited about all these delicious things that are coming out on the tray. She's so excited that she can't even sit down and wait. Everyone else is sitting down except for Farina, who's like up, and she can't even wait for the food to get to the table yet. She's like, wee, let's eat. And Escoffier actually has a relaxed look on her face. The job is done, right? This is the fun part. It's like, why do professionals look so relaxed when they're playing like basketball or whatever, right? The best are always relaxed. They're just having fun at the games because the hard part is over. They did all the work before the game, the training. And now the game itself is the fun part where they get to let loose. So she's chill now. She's happy. And look at the confidence on her face. And she places the thing on the ground and the camera pulls up and we get a nice ice explosion and everyone gets up and is like, oh, and they all surround the table because they're so excited with the food. I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy she figured it out. And then on the food reveal, something interesting happens. The plate pops open and the camera quickly pans up to Farina's reaction. Her eyes are wide. But then it happens a second time. The camera does like a second pan, like it goes up once and then up a second time. Isn't that cool? We talked about that in a previous video about how sometimes in Kung Fu movies, when a punch lands, they'll actually show the punch like 3 different times from 3 different angles in a split second. And that's really to emphasize like that something big is kind of happening. And it's small and your brain doesn't really notice it, but it just makes your mind feel like something big happened. Check it out again. Don't blink. 1, 2. Just happened out of nowhere. That's just a fun little camera trick you could do. And we get 3 really great reactions here. It really reminds me of like Food Wars when they would like smell like the food for the first time and they got all these like, oh, kind of reactions. Don't make me make that noise ever again, please. And then we get one final victorious symphonic pose. And I really like that. Lovely, wonderful. So her job is finished. The music is done. It's on to the next performance. She's off to, I guess, compose her next symphonic masterpiece. And then we get a final shot of her saying, how about a gastronomic symphony? And maybe that's like the genesis of this idea. Maybe we're going back into the past and looking at how this idea came to be, like the genesis of this idea. I don't actually know. But one thing I do love in this shot is that music and food are together in the same shot. They're one and the same. They're balanced. They're together, creating a bigger experience. I love that. I love food and I love music. I love food theory. I love music theory. So this was a very cool thing to see exemplified and like kind of like shown as a labor of love in this trailer. I love the creative process. I love how well they displayed the creative process. I love how well they combine everything. This was such a great trailer, and I wouldn't have seen any of this stuff if I didn't slow this down and break it down piece by piece. So that's pretty cool. All right, I got nothing left to talk about. I'm done.